Severance is one of the most mind-bending and unsettling TV shows in recent years, blending psychological horror with corporate satire. But what makes it so compelling? In this video, we break down everything you need to know about Severance, from the show's hidden details and symbolism to the biggest fan theories. I gotta be honest, when I first started watching Severance, I didn't know what to think about it. I think I watched the first 2 episodes and I fell asleep to it on the couch, and I was just like, this is so creepy. You know, in the first season, there's this one guy, he's got some stuff going on and he's bleeding from his nose and he's like this weird stuff, and I'm like, man, there's this really creepy like intro tune, you know, on the piano, and I'm thinking this is not a good thing for me to fall asleep to. But anyways, nonetheless, I woke up and I was just like, that was kind of boring. I fell asleep, but I kept thinking about it. So I came back to Severance and decided that I would watch the entire first season, and since then I've been hooked. So basically, Severance is a show where you get this little chip implanted in your brain and you get split into 2 different people, right? Your outside self, who has no knowledge about what you're doing at work, and then your inside self, who actually goes to work and has no knowledge about what you do on the outside. It's created by Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller, or directed by Ben Stiller. It follows employees at this company called Lumon Industries who undergo this surgical procedure. The main characters are Mark, who is Adam Scott, Helly, Irving, and Dylan, who is Zach Cherry. That's my personal favorite character. And their mysterious boss is named Harmony Cobell. She's super creepy. Beyond the eerie office and the corporate jargon, Severance is packed with deeper symbolism, hidden details, and unsettling mysteries that make you question everything. The first big theme is corporate control and dehumanization. The break room is this place that Lumon employees go whenever they've done something really bad. Normally, the break room is like a nice place for an employee to go at work. They can kind of go there, chill out, take a little bit of a break. Not at Lumon. They go to this break room and it's a place that they fear, because when they go, Lumon has created this script, which is basically an apology in a specific way that they have to recite over and over and over again to this guy named Mr. Milchuk, who is pretty much like this security guard that works at Lumon, and he's watching their every wake and move. So they have to recite this to that guy over and over and over again until Lumon deems that the person is actually really authentically sorry. Really, it's just torture. Miss Cobell is like watching it on a screen, and she's making these employees recite this sorry apology over and over again, and they do it like 2,000 times before they're able to leave. And so when they go back, they're brainwashed, basically. That's one of the ways that Lumon controls their employees. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it. There is also like this handbook that really is basically a Bible, if you will, of Lumon Industries, of how employees are supposed to act. You know, at a corporate job, you obviously have an employee handbook, and in that employee handbook, there are things you're supposed to do, they're okay, and things you're not supposed to do that aren't okay. Well, this basically takes that to the next level and says like what a perfect person is supposed to be. So it's even deeper than just like being a good employee. It's like being a good person in Lumon's eyes. That's like another way that they manipulate their workers. Religious cult undertones. Employees chant words of the company founder. His name is Keir Egan. Like scripture, reinforcing Lumon's godlike control. It's like at Lumon Industries, you're expected to follow this code. It's really similar to like religion, identity, and autonomy. If you erase yourself, are you still you? This show really explores like how much of yourself is tied to memory. I think like for me personally, I'm watching another show called Dark Matter, and it's kind of has some of these same topics in there. Are we kind of fundamentally the same? Like if you were to split us in 2, do we all have some sort of fundamental like morality or personality that we would translate? Movie and literary references. The show visually nods to 1984, Brazil, The Truman Show, and The Matrix. That's the biggest thing that I thought when I saw this show. I'm like, this is definitely like reminiscent of The Truman Show. Obviously, you know, you got some Matrix and stuff like that from the actual scenery of it and the set design, but like really it's kind of like this whole Truman Show type of controlled environment, and the people that are in that controlled environment at Lumon Industries wanting to find out what's really going on and wanting to have control over their own lives. So one of the biggest things is like, what are they doing at Lumon? MDR is staring at a computer screen with just a bunch of numbers, and these sort of numbers, like they evoke emotions like fear, dread, or joy. But it's like, what are they really doing? They don't know. Lumon doesn't tell them. And so as an audience, it's kind of a mystery. Like we're left to kind of speculate and kind of come up with our own theories. My theory is that this department is called macro data refinement. And throughout the series, there's this character whose name is Miss Casey. And she's kind of like a wellness teacher or something like that. So she does like therapy with the employees, where they go to this wellness session and the employees hear things about their outer selves. So the innies hear that maybe their outer selves are kind, or that they like to stargaze, employees or whatever it might be. It's like this euphoric type of session that the inner employees have because they don't know anything about their outer lives, but they're curious about it. Miss Casey is very like stoic. She doesn't have a lot of emotion. She kind of acts like a robot. And throughout the show, we kind of learn some more information about Miss Casey. But one of the things that I think was a real big reveal, Miss Cobell says something about Miss Casey because she experiences an emotion, and she says that she gets the day to watch the employees on their floor, because when she's not watching them, who knows what she's doing, but it basically is revealed that she's not doing anything. She doesn't get to come out. She's not awake, so to speak, if she's not doing wellness sessions or whatever. So she says to Mark, the main character, spending that day with you guys on the severed floor or whatever in macro data refinement was the best time that I've had here. It was the longest I was awake. Miss Cobell sees this exchange. She gets mad. She says, send her back to the testing floor. Boom. So I'm like, okay. 2 and 2 together, send her back to the testing floor. Macro data refinement doesn't know what they're doing. They're putting these numbers into bins on this computer program. I'm like, they got to be doing it for testing purposes. To me, my theory is that they're telling Lumon how to refine the technology, because I think that Lumon wants to control the human being entirely. I think that they want to use this chip to control a human being's emotions and motivations and everything like that, so that they can create the perfect human being in their eyes, and so that they can also create robots as well, like human robots that are going to become the perfect worker. And then these robots will have no knowledge of what they're doing outside of work, which is essentially what they're trying to do. But they haven't been able to succeed because these inner employees have their own wants and desires, and they can't really, they try to control their emotions, but they don't succeed. That's kind of what the show explores, that even though they're in this environment and they have no knowledge of their outside selves, these employees still have desires, they still experience joy, they still fall in love, they still experience sadness and things of that nature that Lumon doesn't control. Even though try as they might, they try to. So that's my theory, is that they're basically refining this data and they're showing Lumon what emotions they're feeling and stuff like that, so that Lumon can then go use this data somehow and manipulate it to create a better chip to then implant in someone's brain and control them even further. Just my theory there. But let me know what you think in the comments, though. Maybe I'm totally wrong and maybe you've come up with something else. I would love to read it. I also have another theory that maybe it's like a drafting sort of thing, where it's like people are signing up to get severed because they believe in the company, and when they get drafted, Lumon basically kills the person off, and so they fake a death. And that's, why some people that are on the outside, like, they feel like their loved one died, but in reality they didn't. They got drafted to be severed, and so Lumon had to fake this death. Maybe that's a thing. I don't really know. There are these paintings, this guy named Irvin, he's carrying memories of Lumon, his inside self, into his outside environment, because he's creating these really dark and drippy, like hallway type paintings when he's outside of work. I think that this is just an example of, even though he's split his conscious self, he still has these subconscious memories and thoughts coming to the surface in the form of him painting these things that he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know. He just knows that he wants to paint these pictures of black hallways. That's my thought, that the subconscious is transferring over to his outer life. Zach Cherry's character, that's my personal favorite. I think he's hilarious. I just really love anytime he gets on the screen, he has some sort of like witty dialogue or whatever. Like, I love the fact that like Zach Cherry's character is so like suspect of the other people in the other departments, like Christopher Walken's character. When he meets him, he's just like, get away from me. And I just love that so much. Like, that's a genuine response that you might feel if you've been confined to this really small space and you've only seen these other 3 people, while you're at work. That's like your life, right? Because you live 2 separate lives. So you just see these 3 people, and then you see a different dude in a different department. You're probably going to think, like, what's going on here? This dude's probably suspect. Kind of like an uncontacted tribe, so to speak. That's how they would feel if you and I just went and we just showed up at their spot. They'd probably be like, these guys are threatening, or food, you know what I mean? Like, they probably wouldn't embrace us on the first go. Same with Zach Cherry's character, and I really love that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's a really interesting series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it unravels.